A very good morning. It's just past 8 this Feb 14th morning and we're back again with the breakfast show. Over the next 1 hour, we'll get you the latest from the field of politics, business and sports from India and across the world. I am Anil Thomas, with me, Rukma this morning. Good morning, Rukma.
A very good morning to you as well, Anil, and to all our viewers out there. In major news this morning, we look into details of the latest in the coronavirus or COVID-19 outbreak as China reported a record rise in numbers just a day after the severity of the virus was thought to be receding. Fresh questions are being asked about the scale of the crisis. A change in counting methods, according to experts, has led to a better identification process of cases, even as India is fully geared to face any situation that arises due to the outbreak.
Well, back home, we remember the Pulwama martyrs 1 year after the dastardly attack as the nation salutes the 40 brave hearts who gave their lives on this very day. Plus all the latest from across the world and business. Also, we'll take at some other stories from Good News India and also Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat and from the newspapers too. But first up, this Friday morning, the headlines.
Headlines is sponsored by Wonder Cement. Ek perfect shuruaat.
Government closely monitoring novel coronavirus situation. Prime Minister Narendra Modi appreciates Wuhan rescue operation personnel of Air India and Ministry of Health. High-level group of ministers reviews the current status for prevention and management. Death toll in China crosses 1,400 mark.
President of Portugal Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa to meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi in New Delhi today. Several agreements in various fields are expected to be signed between the two countries.
Nation remembers martyrs of Pulwama terror attack on its first anniversary. War memorial to pay tributes to the martyrs to be inaugurated at Letpora camp today. Union Home Minister and Raksha Mantri paid tribute to India's brave hearts.
Absconding bookie Sanjeev Chawla brought back to India by Delhi Police's crime branch. Delhi court sends Chawla to 12-day police custody for further questioning. Chawla allegedly conspired with South African captain Hansie Cronje to fix cricket matches in the year 2000.
In international news, the U.S. Senate passes legislation restricting President Donald Trump's ability to wage war against Iran. 8 of Trump's fellow Republicans join Democrats to pass the War Powers Resolution by 55 to 45, requiring Trump to remove U.S. troops engaged in hostilities against Iran.
In sports news, India's national men's hockey team captain Manpreet Singh becomes the first Indian to win the International Hockey Federation's Player of the Year award. In Netherlands, Eva de Goot crowned the Women's Player of the Year.
Headlines was sponsored by Wonder Cement. Ek perfect shuruaat.
Well, after a look at the top story, it's now time to get into details.
Well, and while India is fully prepared in every way against the coronavirus outbreak, Prime Minister Narendra Modi praised the Wuhan rescue operation that conducted the evacuation of stranded Indians from Wuhan. Prime Minister has issued a letter of appreciation to the team members of the operation. This letter would be handed over to the crew by Minister of State for Civil Aviation. Air India had conducted an emergency evacuation operation from Wuhan city, the epicenter of the deadly novel coronavirus flu. Despite being aware of the severe situation in the region, Air India sent two B747 aircraft with teams of the airline as well as from the Ministry of Health for 2 consecutive days, the 31st of January and the 1st of this month, returning the next day.
Government is fully prepared through its various timely measures and sturdy systems of surveillance to prevent and contain the outbreak of the novel coronavirus in India. On Thursday, a high-level group of ministers reviewed the current status and actions for prevention and management of the novel coronavirus in New Delhi. The meeting was attended by Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan, along with External Affairs Minister, Civil Aviation Minister, Minister of State for Home and Shipping Minister. At the meeting, Dr. Harshvardhan stated that the rapid response teams have been trained in all states for managing emergencies due to the high-risk pathogens.
The country has to be assured that whatever is technically, physically, scientifically, ethically, socially possible, we are trying to do, number one, everything. Number one, we also want the support of the community. And number three, we want the support of the media also, that at least pass on the right information to the people. भारत में 3 कंफर्म्ड केसेस जो आए हैं, उन 3 कंफर्म्ड केसेस को ये सारे के सारे केरला के अंदर एडमिटेड हैं और इन सब की वुहान के साथ कनेक्टेड ट्रैवल हिस्ट्री है, इनफैक्ट वहाँ से आए। इसमें से जो ये सभी केसेस स्टेबल हैं, इनमें से जो है 2 केसेस ऑलरेडी नेगेटिव हो गए हैं, मतलब जांच के अंदर। एक उसमें से डिस्चार्ज भी हो गया है और ये जो तीनों कंफर्म केसेस हैं, इनफैक्ट दे आर ऑल स्टेबल। और जैसे ही ये बाकी 2 भी इनके टेस्ट के अंदर पूरा होने पे, नेगेटिव होने पर इनको डिस्चार्ज किया जाएगा आने वाले समय में।
Meanwhile, the Indian embassy in Japan has said that the condition of the 2 Indian crew members infected with the novel coronavirus on board a cruise ship off the Japanese coast is stable and improving. It said they will be put to another round of tests in the next few days and further treatment will be carried out based on the results.
Meanwhile, China and the world continue to grapple with the spread of the virus. The death toll in China stands at 1,487, while 2 deaths have been reported abroad. Japan and the Philippines have 1 death case each. China has reported 63,767 confirmed cases of COVID-19, while 505 cases have been reported from 24 other countries. Central China's Hubei province, the epicenter of the novel coronavirus outbreak, reported 4,823 confirmed cases, including 3,095 clinically confirmed cases yesterday, bringing the total number in the province to 51,986. Yesterday, 116 more deaths were reported in Hubei, taking the total death toll in the province to 1,426. Meanwhile, the number of cases and deaths jumped sharply yesterday, with authorities changing the way they keep track of the disease, and not primarily because of any change in the shape of the outbreak. Experts believe the new approach should catch many cases that had been missed before. This will allow more patients to get treatment and be quarantined faster.
WHO has said a sharp rise in reported coronavirus cases in China due to a change in the counting methods did not represent a big shift in the epidemic. At a press conference, the head of the WHO's Health Emergency Program, Michael Ryan, said this does not represent a significant change in the trajectory of the outbreak.
And Portuguese President Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa is in India on a 4-day visit. He will meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi in New Delhi today. Both sides will hold delegation-level talks and are expected to ink several agreements at Hyderabad House. The visiting president will also meet President Ramnath Kovind at Rashtrapati Bhavan. President Rebelo will be accorded a ceremonial welcome at Rashtrapati Bhavan first up in the morning, followed by a visit to Rajghat. This is his first visit to India. The last visit by President of Portugal to India was in 2007.
India-Portugal ties are centuries old, but in recent times there is a renewed momentum in the bilateral partnership with the progress being made across various sectors. Our correspondent Munmun Bhattacharya files this report from Lisbon.
Lisbon, the capital of Portugal, is a city full of colour and character. This European city stands out with its unique architecture, white sidewalks, characteristic hills and trams, and statues that mark grand squares with fountains in full bloom. India-Portugal ties of kinship date back over 500 years, when Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama led a voyage from Portugal's shores to Calicut on the coast of Kerala, breaking the Venetian trade monopoly through land and expanding the frontiers of Portuguese trade via sea. In recent times, political ties between India and Portugal have got a fillip through frequent high-level visits and several agreements cutting across sectors. Defence is a promising sphere of bilateral cooperation and a relatively new one too, with the first defence MOU signed only in 2017.
Unmanned air systems on the naval sector and also in the aeronautic and space as well. We have progressed quite well. At this stage, there are effective engagement between Indian companies and Portuguese companies that I believe that in near term will have effective results, either on transferring technology to India and also introducing some factory over there and training centers for this kind of domains, industrial domains and technological domains.
Marine science and oceanography is another area where cooperation is set to grow.
Our cooperation link started about 20 years ago with the National Institute of Oceanography in the area of marine robotics to develop autonomous robots for ocean exploration. And together we developed what I think was the first civilian prototype of such a system. And ever since we have been cooperating on the development of other kinds of robots for scientific applications.
Portugal has become a springboard for Indian companies to set base and expand to the rest of Europe.
Portugal was very important for us to launch other countries because of the geographic region that we are at the moment. Also, we have really good relationships with most of the countries around Europe, South America, even Africa. So it helped us in that relationship, in that bit, it helped us a lot.
Post-Brexit, Portugal aims to give a foothold to companies based in UK and looking to expand further into Europe.
Portuguese Prime Minister has actually recently declared again when he visited India that he would like to receive companies who are based in the UK to keep their base in the UK but to have a foot in the EU in Portugal.
With Portuguese platforms hand-holding Indian businesses, there are opportunities waiting for Indian startups and entrepreneurs.
We give them complete assistance, we do hand-holding for them. From India, we bring them here, we assist them in setting up the business.
Diversity and plurality is a shared value in India and Portugal. Abdul Wakil, only the second Muslim to come to Portugal in 1956, is a well-respected person of Indian origin in Portugal who was conferred with the Prasar Bharati Samman by India, and the Portuguese government has worked with him to organize interreligious dialogues in Portugal.
I do a lot of interreligious dialogue in the mosque. When President Marcelo was there, we had 17 or 18 religions lined up, each one reading a sentence of their religion.
Political ties, development cooperation, commercial collaboration, people-to-people ties, and shared values of democracy and plurality together form a strong foundation of the India-Portugal partnership.
And well, in other news, the nation today remembers the martyrs of the gruesome Pulwama terror attack that killed 40 CRPF Jawans on its first anniversary. Senior officers and other force personnel will pay homage to the fallen Jawans at the CRPF Training Center at Lethpora in Pulwama. As the nation mourns and honors the supreme sacrifice of our soldiers, the CRPF will inaugurate a memorial to respect and commemorate memories of our Jawans who had to pay the ultimate price. The memorial has been erected at CRPF's Lethpora camp near the site where the terror attack took place. On February 14, 2019, a Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorist rammed explosive-filled vehicle on a bus ferrying CRPF Jawans. The bus was part of the CRPF convoy.
Union Home Minister Amit Shah paid homage to the martyrs of Pulwama attack. In a tweet, he said, and I quote, "India will forever be grateful to our brave hearts and their families who made the supreme sacrifice for the sovereignty and integrity of our motherhood." Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh remembered that fallen CRPF personnel who were martyred during the dastardly attack in Pulwama. In a tweet, he said, "India will never forget their sacrifice. Entire country stands united against terrorism and we are committed to continuing our fight against this menace."
And our correspondent Rama Tyagi spoke to the CRPF commandos who not only witnessed the Pulwama attack last year but also were responsible for providing a befitting reply or giving a befitting reply to such incidents on the border.
जिस समय ये घटना हुई थी उस समय हमारी जो सुरक्षा बल की कार्रवाई और सिविल गाड़ियां एक ही रोड पर दोनों चलती थी। जो गाड़ियां रोड पे चलती है उनको हम लोग रोक नहीं सकते थे, लेकिन एक साल की घटना के बाद अभी जो मंजर है कि जब हमारी सुरक्षा बल की गाड़ियां निकलती है उसमें सिविल गाड़ियां एक भी नहीं निकलती है, चाहे वो किसी की भी गाड़ियां हो, उनको गाड़ियों को रोक करके हमारा सुरक्षा बल की गाड़ियों को सेफली पार कराया जाता है।
हर घटना अपने आप में एक सबक होती है और उस सबक को हम लोगों ने बहुत अच्छी तरह से लिया है और पूरी एरिया में शांति बनी रही। वो दिखाता है कि हमने ना केवल सीखा बल्कि पूरी तरह से बाउंस किया और दोबारा फिर चीज़ों को उसी तरह से हम लोग मेंटेन कर रहे हैं।
ये तो हम पहले से जानते हैं कि ऐसा घटना कभी भी हो सकता है, इसलिए हर खतरे का हम सामना करने के लिए हम हमेशा रेडी रहते हैं।
शहीदों का बलिदान हम व्यर्थ जाने नहीं देंगे, दुश्मन को हम कभी आंख दिखाने नहीं देंगे, सिर कटा देंगे हम अपने, तिरंगे को कभी नीचे आने नहीं देंगे। जय हिंद, जय भारत।
जान भी देंगे बेशक देश की रक्षा में, वीर जियाले हम हैं, शस्त्र संभाले हम हैं, देश की रक्षा में।
Well, moving to news from the Supreme Court. The Apex Court will today hear the centre and the Delhi government's plea seeking separate execution of the Nirbhaya gang rape and murder case convicts. A bench comprising of Justice R. Bhanumati, Ashok Bhushan and A.S. Bopanna asked the convicts to file their counter replies by today. The Apex Court also appointed senior advocate Anjana Prakash as amicus curiae to represent the convict Pawan Kumar Gupta. The top court said it is deferring the hearing in the wake of a trial court order directing the District Legal Service Authority to provide Gupta's father with a list of its empaneled advocates to choose from to represent the convict. Gupta is the only convict who has not yet filed a curative petition. Meanwhile, the Apex Court is also expected to pronounce the order on the issue of rejection of death row convict Vinay Kumar Sharma's mercy petition by President Ramnath Kovind.
And in news about the infamous Hansi-Cronium match-fixing case, a Delhi court yesterday sent Sanjeev Chawla, an alleged bookie and accused of match-fixing, to 12-day police custody. Chawla, the key accused in one of cricket's biggest match-fixing scandals that involved former South African captain Hansie Cronje, was produced before the court. Delhi police had sought 14-day custodial interrogation of Chawla, who was extradited from London yesterday, as he is to be taken to various places in order to unearth a larger conspiracy. Chawla is alleged to have played a central role in conspiring with Cronje to fix a South African tour to India in February to March 2000.
Senior bureaucrat Rajiv Bansal was on Thursday appointed as the chairman and managing director of Air India for a second time. Bansal, a 1988 batch IAS officer of the Nagaland cadre, is currently the additional secretary in the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. The Appointments Committee of the Cabinet has approved his appointment as the CMD of Air India in the rank and pay of additional secretary. He replaces Ashwini Lohani, who has completed his one-year tenure as the head of the airline.
And in solemn tribute to late External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj's 68th birth anniversary, the government has renamed Pravasi Bharatiya Kendra as Sushma Swaraj Bhavan and Foreign Service Institute Delhi as Sushma Swaraj Institute of Foreign Service. The Ministry of External Affairs in a statement said the two institutions have been renamed in solemn tribute to the invaluable contribution of Sushma to Indian diplomacy, the cause of the Indian diaspora and the ethos of public service. It also said that this is a fitting tribute to a great public figure who continues to inspire us, the illustrious leader who brought rare empathy and a human approach to India's diplomacy as External Affairs Minister in the previous Narendra Modi government, died on August 6 last year following a massive cardiac arrest. As External Affairs Minister, Sushma Swaraj brought a sense of assertiveness in India's diplomacy besides engaging the diaspora, a central focus of the country's foreign policy priorities. Sushma was one of the most followed foreign ministers on Twitter globally. She was known for helping Indians stuck abroad, as she was quick to respond to their calls for help on Twitter.
Union Home Minister Sushma Swaraj paid tributes to the exceptional Union Home Minister Amit Shah paid tributes to the departed leader Sushma Swaraj on her Jayanti. In a tweet, he said, "A disciplined Karyakarta, a fierce orator and an outstanding parliamentarian who never compromised on her ideals. She will always be remembered for her kind nature and helping the distressed in their trying times."
It's been touted as the world's largest cricket stadium in terms of seating capacity. It's gearing up to host the US President Donald Trump. The Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel Stadium, also known as the Motera Stadium, has been developed at a project cost of nearly 800 crore rupees. With finishing touches being given, the Motera Stadium, which will have a maximum seating capacity of 110,000, will see President Trump and Prime Minister Modi address a public event. This will be on the lines of the Howdy Modi event that was held in Houston in 2019. Run by the Gujarat Cricket Association, the stadium will house a main cricket ground along with two smaller cricket grounds, 4 locker rooms, 75 air-conditioned corporate boxes and a clubhouse for club members.
We have a very unique feature which I think Bangalore Stadium has and we have developed over here. That is in case there is a very heavy rain during the match hours, within half an hour we'll be able to vacuum complete water from the stadium, from the pitch area, so we can always continue with the matches. So as I said about the lighting, it's going to be a complete pillarless stadium. It's going to have the largest stadium in the world, so we will have lot of matches over here. The international level matches will come here. I'm sure World Cup is also what we are eyeing at, which we might get over here soon. So we are looking at more and more and we are going to aggressively drive this to have more matches and have more events in our premises, which can create a benchmark for the cricketing in the world. The largest stadium is going to cater not only the requirement of the cricketing and professionally alone, it's also going to promote more cricketers and more players which will come up in the future.
Army officials briefed the second batch of 25 foreign envoys visiting Jammu and Kashmir on the security situation in the valley on Thursday. The delegation was on a 2-day visit as part of the Union government's trip. The aim was to help the envoys make a first-hand assessment of the situation in Jammu and Kashmir since the revoking of Article 370 and 35A.
The second batch of 25 foreign envoys from European Union and Gulf countries visited Jammu Kashmir to take stock of the ground situation in Jammu and Kashmir. The representatives on the second day of their visit on Thursday met the corps commanders in Srinagar, and the members also took stock of the Union territory's status. Local people also shared their views on this occasion.
यूटी बनने के बाद जो प्राइम मिनिस्टर ऑफ इंडिया ने जो कहा तो उनके कहने पर आज काफ़ी तरक्की में ये तेज़ी आई और लोग जो उन्होंने कहा वो ग्रास रूट लेवल पे हो रहा है।
नरेगा काम अच्छी तरह से आ रहा है, सब लोग कर रहे काम, ये काम आना चाहिए, गांव के लोगों को रोजगार मिलता है, इससे काम भी अच्छा होता है, सफाई भी अच्छा हो रहा है,
रोजगार भी अच्छा मिला और हमें मतलब फायदा भी इससे बहुत हुआ है, बहुत फायदा हुआ है इससे।
The batch includes envoys from Germany, Canada, France, New Zealand, Mexico, Italy, Afghanistan, Austria, Uzbekistan, Poland, as well as envoys of the European Union. The representatives of these countries visited Jammu, where they met the Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir, Girish Chandra Murmu, Chief Justice of the Jammu and Kashmir High Court Justice Geeta Mittal, and BVR Subramaniam, the Chief Secretary of Jammu and Kashmir, and senior officers of Jammu and Kashmir administration. On Wednesday, the envoys had arrived at the Srinagar airport but could not visit Baramulla town in North Kashmir due to bad weather. They were taken on a shikara ride on the famous Dal Lake. The envoys on first day of the visit on Wednesday visited Srinagar and met Kashmiri traders, businesswomen and entrepreneurs and discussed various issues related to trade and tourism. Last month in January, a 15-member foreign envoys of 15 countries, including US Ambassador to India, arrived in Srinagar on a 2-day visit to Jammu and Kashmir and met over 100 people, including senior valley-based politicians, top newspaper editors and grassroots representatives. They took feedback on the ground situation post the revocation of the state's special status after the abrogation of Article 370 of the Constitution. DD India.
Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana is a maternity benefit program implemented in all districts of the country with the objective to provide partial compensation for wage loss in terms of cash incentive so that women can take adequate rest before and after delivery of the first child. How is this ambitious scheme working at the grassroots levels? We tell you more in this ground report.
Pregnant and lactating women have enormously benefited from Matru Vandana Yojana, which aims for ensuring safe delivery and healthy baby. In Koppal district of Karnataka, a total of 18,566 women have availed benefits under the scheme. Both state and central governments, in order to ensure health of women and newly born child under the various schemes, provide eggs, milk and other nutritious food. Further, Rupees 5,000 is credited to their account in 3 installments so that they buy fruits and healthy vegetables.
After my delivery, I purchased dry fruits from the money. I feel good now.
The money that I received was of great use. I felt empowered. Me and my child are healthy, and I thank the Prime Minister.
The scheme has benefited a lot and I got rupees 5,000. I purchased necessary items. My child is healthy.
Beneficiaries say that they have received rupees 5,000 under the scheme. This helped them hugely during pregnancy. The sum also helped many in times of medical emergency. Ground Report Desk, DD News.
Well, on to some international stories. The US Senate has passed an Iran war pause resolution on Thursday to limit the US President Donald Trump's ability to wage a war against Iran. The legislation aims to rein in his ability to use military action against Iran without congressional approval. 8 of Trump's fellow Republicans joined Democrats to pass the war pause resolution by 55 votes to 45. The measure would further require Trump to remove US troops engaged in hostilities against Iran unless Congress declares war or passes a specific authorization for the use of military force. Opponents said the resolution's passage would send a wrong message to Tehran.
In Iraq, a rocket slammed into a base where American troops were stationed in the remote province of Kirkuk on Thursday night. There were no immediate reports of casualties. According to 3 separate Iraqi security sources, the Katyusha rocket hit the K-1 base at around 8:45 p.m. local time, and U.S. military aircraft immediately began flying low over the area. This was the first attack on the base since the 27th of December, when a volley of around 30 rockets killed a U.S. contractor there and unleashed a dramatic escalation. Washington has blamed the rockets on Kataib Hezbollah, a hardline Iraqi military faction close to Iran, and conducted retaliatory strikes that killed 25 of the group's fighters. Supporters of the group then surrounded the U.S. embassy in Baghdad, breaking through its outer perimeter in an unprecedented breach on the mission.
A large iceberg has broken off from Pine Island Glacier on the edge of Antarctica. According to satellite images from the European Space Agency, the iceberg is a 300 square kilometers in size, and following its split from the glacier, quickly shattered into pieces. The World Meteorological Organization said last week that a research base in Antarctica had recorded the hottest temperature ever for the continent at minus 18.3 degrees Celsius. Global warming caused an increase in the melting of ice sheets around the South Pole. Scientists believe global warming has caused so much melting at the South Pole that the giant ice sheet is now on course to disintegrate. This would see an eventual rise in the global sea level of at least 3 meters over centuries.
And in news from the world of finance, IMF spokesman Jerry Rice has termed India's proposed budget's accommodative fiscal stance as appropriate given the slowing economy. Responding to a question on the budget presented by Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, Rice also proposed that the government continue to pursue medium-term reforms and fiscal consolidation because of growing debt levels.
We think that given the weaker economic environment in India, which again we've talked about recently, the environment is weaker than we had forecast earlier, that a more accommodative fiscal stance this year is appropriate. So that more accommodative fiscal stance in the budget we think is appropriate. That said, while the budget touches on ongoing sectoral efforts, there remains an urgent need for more ambitious structural and financial sector reform measures and a medium-term fiscal consolidation strategy anchored in tangible revenue and expenditure measures.
Meanwhile, the Reserve Bank of India has proposed setting up of a new pan-India umbrella entity, NUE, for retail payment systems, which will be responsible for setting up, managing and operating new payment systems, especially in the retail space, including ATMs, white label point of sales, Aadhaar-based payments and remittance services. RBI has floated a framework for establishing the new entity and has invited comments on the draft framework by Feb 25th of this month. The new entity will also have to develop new payment methods, standards and technologies, and also monitor related issues in India and internationally. It will have to operate clearing and settlement systems and manage risks such as settlement credit, the central bank said. The proposed entity can either be a for-profit company or a non-profit company. That's according to the RBI.
And now for some sports news. India's preparations for the Test series in the 3-day warm-up game did not get the perfect start against New Zealand's 11 at Hamilton. When reports last came in, India opting to bat first were 134 for the loss of 4 wickets. Scott Kuglane was the wrecker-in-chief with 3 wickets. Prithvi Shaw, Mayank Agarwal and Shubman Gill failed to get going and fell cheaply. Chiteshwar Pujara and Hanuma Vihara are in the process of rebuilding the innings. Pujara is unbeaten at 53 while Vihara is on 39.
Hockey India congratulated the Indian men's hockey team captain Manpreet Singh for bagging the FIH Player of the Year award. Singh has become the first member of India's national team to win the Best Player award since the award were set up in 1999. He was up against Belgium's Arthur van Doren and Lucas Villa of Argentina, who finished second and third respectively. In 2019 as captain, he led his team to victory in the FIH Olympic qualifiers, thus securing a spot at the Olympic Games in Tokyo in 2020. The midfielder has also represented India at London 2012 and Rio 2016 Olympic Games.
Cristiano Ronaldo's controversial late penalty rescued a draw for below-par Juventus on the first leg of their Coppa Italia semi-final at AC Milan. Juve looked set for a third straightaway defeat after Ante Rebic's volley, but put Milan ahead before the hosts lost Theo Hernandez to a second yellow card after 71 minutes. The visitors offered little threat despite their main advantage, but the late VAR-awarded spot kick allowed Ronaldo 35 last week to make it 35 goals in 35 games for club and country. The second leg in Turin is on the 4th of March. Juve were knocked off top spot in Serie A at the weekend, and their boss Maurizio Sarri would have been frustrated to see his side only manage 3 tame shots on target in a tepid, scrappy game.
The Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports is set to organize the first ever Khelo India Winter Games in the Union Territory of Ladakh in the 3rd week of February and in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir in the 1st week of March. With an effort to popularize winter games among the youth of the country, 7 different sporting disciplines have been chosen. The Khelo India Ladakh Winter Games will have open ice hockey championship, figure skating and speed skating, and the competition will be conducted at block, district and union territory levels with an expected participation of about 1,700 athletes. The competitions of Khelo India Jammu and Kashmir Winter Games will be held at Gulmarg in 4 age categories for both boys and girls. Around 841 athletes and officials will be participating in the games being organized by the Jammu and Kashmir Sports Council and the Winter Games Association of Jammu and Kashmir, with 15 teams from different states and organizations. Both the games will be funded by the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports.
And it's time now to take a look at some stories we've picked out from the newspapers here this morning. Well, starting off with the Hindustan Times. In fact, almost all newspapers today have focused on the coronavirus, how a new methodology, a new system of counting has been evolved. The WHO says that it does not change how the virus has spread, but it helps in identifying in a more proper manner, which has led to a sudden spiraling in the number of cases of the virus, and that is rather alarming. The report also has a picture of the cruise ship, the Japanese cruise ship that has been stranded for some time now because of from where it's coming from, and because some patients have been, some passengers have been identified as being infected with the virus.
Well, we'll have to wait and watch on, how exactly a cure could be found for this particular epidemic that's taken the world by storm and is affecting not only people in China but across the world, and global business could be hit very soon with this particular epidemic. Moving ahead to the second story that we picked from the Times of India on the front page. This talks about Infosys founder-in-chief's son-in-law is now the United Kingdom's finance minister. He is replacing Javed there. Now two PIOs, persons of Indian origin, in great offices of state. Rishi Sunak is 39 and he is the new Chancellor of the Exchequer and is a self-made billionaire there. His grandparents moved to Punjab from East Africa and then to United Kingdom. He is married to Narayan Murthy's daughter, the Infosys founder there. And that's not all. Preeti Patel, there is another Indian there at the top. She is the UK Home Secretary and the first Indian origin MP to hold a great office of state in Britain. There is one more Indian there, Alok Sharma, who is the Secretary of State for Business, Energy and Industry Strategy. So many Indians there, many Desis making it to the top in United Kingdom.
A very heartening bit of news there, Anil. And well, here's another story we've picked out from the Indian Express, an inside story, an international story. The United States announcing a 7-day partial truce with the Taliban. It was secured in talks to help seek a negotiated settlement in Afghanistan. The Pentagon chief Mark Esper said this yesterday. The announcement came as NATO defense ministers met in Brussels and a day after Afghan President Ashraf Ghani reported notable progress in negotiations with Islamic insurgents.
Well, another step towards the search for peace on that particular front. Moving to our next newspaper that we picked for the morning, that's from the Economic Times on the front page. This talks about demand for sanitizers, masks at a fever pitch there. Shop suppliers wary of shortage as the buying spree has continued. The primary fear factor thanks to the coronavirus. Pan-India, there is a panic when it comes to buying face masks, especially the N95 ones. Hand sanitizers due to the COVID-19 virus spreading. Stocks are getting over much faster than expected and the prices of masks have now doubled and even tripled in some places. If you look at it, besides the metros, that's all the metro cities, demand for masks and hand sanitizers and soaps have increased in Ahmedabad, Hyderabad and Jaipur. This is according to an online pharmacy company that's into distribution.
And well, moving on now to our final newspaper of this morning, The Hindu talks about how the president, while awarding the president's colors to INS Shivaji, the country's premier naval training institute, has said that future training of marine engineers must be tailored to evolving technologies. And as the world advances, so does India when it comes to its military capabilities. And he says that he was speaking after awarding the president's colors to INS Shivaji, the country's premier naval training institute, in a ceremonial parade in Lonavala, 75 kilometers from Pune.
Well, after a look at the national dailies, it's time now to move ahead and take a look at some more stories. There, Prime Minister Narendra Modi remembered the former External Affairs Minister, late Sushma Swaraj, on her birth anniversary today. In a tweet, he also shared an old photo with her. Prime Minister Modi tweeted, and I quote, "Remembering Sushmaji. She epitomized dignity, decency and unwavering commitment to public service. Firmly rooted in Indian values and ethos, she had great dreams for our nation. She was an exceptional colleague and an outstanding minister."
It's the 14th of February today. Let's take a look at the major happenings that took place on this day in history.
On this day in 1933, famous Hindi film actress Madhubala, who appeared in a number of classics, was born in Delhi. Besides Mughal-e-Azam, Madhubala dominated the box office with hits like Barsat Ki Raat. On March 18, 2008, a commemorative postage stamp featuring Madhubala was issued by the Indian Post. This day in the year 1989, the Supreme Court ordered Union Carbide Corporation of USA and Union Carbide India Limited to pay $470 million in full and final settlement of all claims out of the Bhopal gas disaster litigation tragedy of 1985. On this day in 1990, 92 people were killed when an Indian Airlines Flight 605 crashed in Bangalore. This day in the year 1998, at least 52 people were killed and over 200 injured in a series of 12 bomb blasts in Coimbatore an hour before BJP President L.K. Advani arrived for a campaign meeting.
Well, after a look at history, it's time now to come back to the present and take a look at the events listed for today.
Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu will be the chief guest and will deliver the convocation address at the 58th convocation ceremony of the Indian Agricultural Research Institute in New Delhi. Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will hold meeting with economists at Niti Aayog in New Delhi. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar is likely to attend the Munich Security Conference in Munich, Germany, which will bring together top leaders from around the world.
And moving on now to other news, birth defects are an important cause of childhood mortality. Congenital anomalies or birth defects are either structural or functional. We tell you more in this report.
Birth defects are important causes of infant and childhood deaths, chronic illnesses and disability. Worldwide, around 3% children are born with birth defects. Congenital anomalies, also known as birth defects, are structural or functional anomalies that occur during intrauterine life and can be identified prenatally at birth or later in life.
3 birth defects. First is thalassemia, in which repeated blood transfusions are required. Second is Down syndrome, in which children have developmental problems and other problems. And third is a structural birth defect, which is called a neural tube defect, in which the spinal cord is not properly formed. These are 3 common birth defects which can be taken care if we take precautions before and after pregnancy.
Birth defects can be caused by single gene defects, chromosomal disorders, multifactorial inheritance, environmental factors, and micronutrient deficiencies.
To prevent these, for thalassemia, the couple should get themselves tested for thalassemia carrier status, because it is very common in India, and if both of them are carriers, they should consult the doctor for testing the baby during pregnancy. The second problem is Down syndrome, for which during pregnancy some screening tests by blood and ultrasonography are available, and if the mother is at high risk of having a baby with Down syndrome, this can be detected and they can consult the doctor for the same. The third problem is neural tube defects, which is very easily prevented if the mother takes folic acid before conception, at least 1 month before conception to 3 months after conception, and these cases can be prevented, and neural tube defects can be easily detected during pregnancy by ultrasonography.
Planning the pregnancy and preconception screening can be useful to identify those at risk for specific disorders or at risk of passing a disorder into their children. Vaccination, adequate intake folic acid or iodine through fortification of staple foods or supplementation, and adequate antenatal care may help in early diagnosis and prevention of birth defects in the baby. Kiran Bhardwaj, DD News.
Moving on, the 20th edition of Hunar Haat was organized or inaugurated in the lawns of India Gate in Delhi. Hunar Haat celebrates the idea of Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat. Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal strongly encouraged to use indigenous products. Artists from across the country have set up over 250 stalls at the hut.
The 20th edition of Hunar Haat began at India Gate lawns, where master artisans and culinary experts from across the country are showcasing their talents. Railway Minister Piyush Goyal, Minority Affairs Minister Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi and Housing and Urban Affairs Minister Hardeep Singh Puri inaugurated the Hunar Haat. This Hunar Haat, based on the theme of Kaushal Ko Kaam, will continue till 23rd of this month. More than 250 stalls have been set up where talents from different parts of the country will be showcased under single roof. Speaking on the occasion, Minority Affairs Minister Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi said that more than 3 lakh master artisans, craftsmen and culinary experts have been provided employment and employment opportunities through Hunar Haat.
हुनर हाट जो है वो दस्तकारों, शिल्पकारों, कारीगरों का एम्पावरमेंट और एम्प्लॉयमेंट एक्सचेंज साबित हुआ है। और हुनर हाट के माध्यम से जो हमारी दस्तकारी, शिल्पकारी की सदियों पुरानी विरासत है, उसको जहाँ एक तरफ मौका मार्केट मिल रहा है, वहीं साथ ही उन दस्तकारों, शिल्पकारों के साथ सैकड़ों लोग जो जुड़ करके उस स्वदेशी उत्पादन में लगते हैं, उनको उस स्वदेशी विरासत को परवान चढ़ाने का मौका मिल रहा है। लगभग 20 हुनर हाट हो रहे हैं और हर हुनर हाट अपनी अलग पहचान रखता है। कहीं पे एक भारत श्रेष्ठ भारत का आपको नज़ारा दिखाई देने मिलेगा। इस बार जो हुनर हाट का थीम है, हुनर को काम।
So far, Hunar Haat events have been organized at various places in the country. In the coming days, Hunar Haat will be organized in Ranchi, Chandigarh, Gurugram, Bengaluru, Chennai, Kolkata and other places. Addressing the gathering, Union Minister for Railways, Piyush Goyal has said that the government must work on mission mode to protect and promote homemade handicrafts and artisans across the country.
हर परिवार ये निर्णय ले ले कि हम अपने घर में हर वर्ष कम से कम एक वस्तु, ऐसा देश का स्वदेशी वस्तु खरीदेंगे, तो मैं समझता हूं इस देश में एक नई उत्साह, एक नई ऊर्जा हमारे शिल्पकारों को, अपनी प्रतिभा को देश के कोने-कोने तक पहुंचाने को मिलेगी।
The President of ICCR, Dr. Vinay Sahasrabuddhe, senior officials of Minority Affairs Ministry and other various ministries and other dignitaries from the country and abroad were present on the occasion. Artisans and craftsmen participating in the event are excited that their skills are getting displayed on a national platform.
हमारा हुनर है पेपर माशी का, तो इस साल हमें मौका मिला है इस हुनर को लोगों के थ्रू देखने का।
ये मैं प्रोडक्ट लाया हूँ पीतल का बना हुआ। जैसे आपको पता है कि मुरादाबाद का नाम जो है हिंदुस्तान में पूरे वर्ल्ड में मशहूर है, पीतल के लिए। स्पेशली हमारा हैंडवर्क होता है, हाथ से बना हुआ सामान होता है, तो लोगों को बहुत ज़्यादा पसंद आता है।
Cultural programs will also be a major attraction of the Hunar Haat, which will be organized on a daily basis. A Bawarchi Khana section has also been set up with traditional delicacies of several states available for people to savor. With inputs from Manish Bajpai, News Night Desk, DD India.
And time now to take a look at temperatures recorded in cities and towns across the country.
Well, that's all we have time for in this edition of Breakfast Show. It's time for us to say goodbye. But before we do that, we leave you with a positive thought every morning. Today's thought is by Mark Twain's famous lines, "Kindness is a language the deaf can hear and the blind can see."
And we also leave you with glimpses of Himachal Pradesh's Fangli festival, which is celebrated in Kulu. Take a look and enjoy. Namaskar. Have a great day.